Welcome to fourth grade math. I'm Mrs. Locklear. Today we're going to be looking at the standards for mathematical practice and which standards we will be expected to learn in fourth grade. The first standard we're going to look at is operations and algebraic thinking. Students need to be able to represent and solve problems involving multiplication and division. They need to be able to use the four operations with whole numbers to solve problems, and that includes doing multi-step word problems, being able to interpret remainders in a word problem. So that means if I have 15 people going on a trip and 2 people are going to be in each hotel room, I'm going to have 1 person left over if I only get 7 hotel rooms. So that means I have to get an additional hotel room to be able to accommodate the remainder because it's a person. Or can I break the remainder up if I were dividing a cookie or a cake? I have some left, so can everybody take an equal share of what is left over? Or do I just completely ignore it? So understanding when and why to use each of those when dealing with remainders is something that we're going to drill into. Also learning what factors and multiples are, how to break numbers down into their factors, and which numbers are multiples of a smaller number. So what are the multiples of 2, such as 2, 4, 6, 8? And we're also going to look at patterns. The second standard that we're going to deal with is number and operations using base 10 system. So essentially that just means knowing the place value of numbers, understanding that a digit in one place represents 10 times what it represents in the place to its right, and being able to do that up to 100,000. Being able to read and write multi-digit numbers, as well as put them in their expanded form, using their numerals and using their names. Being able to compare multi-digit numbers using greater than, less than, and equal than signs or equals to signs. Also being able to use place value to understand the properties of operations to perform multi-digit arithmetic. So just being able to add and subtract a multi-digit number up to 100,000. Being able to multiply a whole number by another number up to 3 digits. Being able to find quotients and remainders with up to 3-digit dividends. So these are things that we're going to be looking at in fourth grade.
Fourth grade, we're going to spend a considerable amount of time in fractions. Most of the second semester is going to involve some sort of fractions or decimals. And we're going to be adding additional denominators than what was learned in third grade. We're going to be learning how to compare fractions by using 0, half, and whole, which is our benchmark, or placing fractions on a number line. We're going to be adding and subtracting fractions, which is going to require students to understand factors and multiples so that they can find the common factor so that they can get a common denominator. We're also going to be able to model fractions using pictures, and then starting in decimals, how to turn a fraction into a decimal, how to represent tenths and hundreds with models, with fractions, and with decimals. This year, when we look at measurement and data, we're going to be dealing mostly with metric units, such as centimeters, meters, liters, milliliters, how to add and subtract, again, more word problems, because we want to make sure that students know when to use specific operations, not just that they can solve a problem given the operation, so that they can apply what they know to solve a problem. Also, we're going to be looking at time intervals and how much time has passed, not just how to read time, but how to determine how much time has passed or how long something has taken to do. We're going to be looking at area and perimeter, finding missing lengths and sides within a problem, um, as well as being able to collect data and plot that on a graph, such as if we want to see how many students in the class or who has which type of animal, how to compare who has a dog, who has a cat, how to plot that on a graph, and how to interpret that and explain that information. And then when we get to geometry, we want to be able to classify shapes based on lines and angles on two-dimensional figures. So can students identify the lines, the segments, the angles? Um, can they draw them? Can they explain the difference between parallel and perpendicular lines and which shapes have parallel and perpendicular lines? Those are the things that student is going to be learning this year. So as you can see, fourth grade is going to really focus in on why the student is doing what they're doing, when to use the operations. So building those reasoning skills and being able to explain why they chose to solve a problem a certain way, looking at the multi-step word problems, being able to work through step by step what needs to be done, being able to model what how they're answering a problem, and just focusing in on those deeper skills, gaining a deeper understanding of math in general. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask. Thank you.